It took me forever, but I finally figured out what this newspaper says and what implications it has for the story. Stick around to the end of this video if you want to see it. In 2017, I made one of the first Movie Things You Missed episodes on It Chapter 1. Here's what I said at the end.
And when the trailer for Chapter 2 drops, you can count on a Things You Missed episode from me.
And today that trailer did drop, so here's me keeping my promise. Just as the Losers Club keeps their promise to return to Derry should it rise again. The trailer begins with Beverly going back to her father's old apartment. She hasn't talked to him since moving to Chicago years ago, and it would probably be a bit awkward considering she smashed his head open the last time they saw each other in 1989. Once she arrives, she discovers that her father is no longer there. Instead, there's this old woman named Mrs. Kersh. Beverly thinks that she may have misread the name on the door, somehow confusing her own last name, Marsh, with Kersh. But in the opening shot of the trailer, it clearly says Marsh. Bev finds the postcard given to her by Ben 27 years ago while Mrs. Kersh is making tea, and if you pay attention to Beverly's arms, they're covered in bruises. In the novel, Bev has an abusive husband named Tom, who she flees from to come to Derry. She also has something hanging around her neck. I'm not sure what it is, but it reminds me of the key that she wore as a child. We never see what it's for in the first movie. Mrs. Kersh's shirt is covered in birds, and birds can be seen throughout her apartment, which could be a clue about her true nature. It's not really mentioned in Chapter 1, but birds play a major part in the novel, where Mike first encounters it in the form of a giant bird that attacks him, and Stan would later use his vast knowledge of birds to determine that its bird form is not real, which weakens it. As Beverly looks around the apartment at the photos, Mrs. Kersh peeks out and looks at her, all naked and creepy like that woman from The Visit. The photo shows Pennywise in his human form, Bob Gray, another detail that wasn't part of the first film. Before she attacks, Mrs. Kersh asks the following question.
What about you? Are you still his little girl, Beverly? Are you?
This is probably a reference to Beverly's fear of her father, and the fact that it takes the shape of her dad temporarily during the final battle in Chapter 1.
Hey, Bevy, are you still my little girl?
Then we finally get our reveal shot of some more members of the Losers Club, including Mike, Richie, Bill, Beverly, and Ben. Eddie doesn't show up until later in the trailer. They see themselves as kids in the reflection of this window, one of the many ways they become more childlike when they return to Derry, much like how Bill gets his stutter back in the book, and the scars that they cut into their hands to make the promise reappear when they find out that it's back. They're also in front of an ice cream shop. There is a scene where they get ice cream in the book after Ben stands up for Beverly against this kid named Bradley Donovan. Hopefully the childhood flashbacks in It Chapter 2 are gonna fill in some of the events that took place that summer that they didn't have room for in the first movie, as opposed to the flashbacks just being used to reiterate stuff. That looks to be the case because this shot of them riding bikes is a completely different day than anything that happens in the first one. I've never seen Richie wearing this zombie hand shirt before. One such flashback could be hinted at in this scene of Richie at City Center. In the first one, this is where we learn that Richie is afraid of clowns. This Paul Bunyan statue is shown, but it doesn't do anything in the movie. In the book, Richie goes there by himself one day, and the statue comes to life and attacks him. So maybe that's a scene that we'll get to see in a flashback. There are other locations that they return to from the first movie, like the hill leading to the Barrens, and this sewer pipe where they first meet Ben. It looks like the water is higher now. The town is once again littered with missing child posters as it was in 1989. I found it interesting that it's not the busy town that it once was. The streets are empty. It took me a while to decipher what this blurry Daily Derry newspaper headline said, but I've come to the conclusion that it says, "Body found in Barrens." This must be Dennis Torrio, a boy who's murdered in the novel, and police find Georgie's picture at the crime scene. Speaking of which, it looks like the ghost of Georgie is not done haunting Bill. This Chinese restaurant is called the Oriental Jade, and this is where they meet up for the first time in 27 years. I noticed that this gong in the background here is moving, and I can just see Richie slamming the gong to commence their meeting and disturbing all of the other diners. Okay, this shot shows thousands of balloons under a bridge, one for every comment that tells me that I look like Shaggy. No, but what this really is the event that sets the new cycle of It into motion. It starts at a festival celebrating Derry. I'm guessing that's what this is. 3 drunk guys come to harass a gay couple, and one of them gets pushed off of a bridge where Pennywise is waiting and bites the guy's arm off before thousands of red I Love Derry balloons rise up and hit the bottom of the bridge. For this shot, I'm not gonna go into it because I don't want some viewer to get mad about spoilers and then come to my house and bite my ear off or something. But if you want a clue, I'll just say, read chapter 21 in the book. I think that's what we're seeing here. I will, however, talk about this other shot, where we see the white clown gloves grabbing this little ball of light. When I talked about the first movie, I theorized that these little lights that Beverly sees down the throat of it are an interpretation of the deadlights, the true form of it. And I think that's what we're seeing again here. Pennywise using the deadlights to hypnotize this girl. The little girl with the bruise on her face can be seen wandering under the bleachers during some kind of sporting event. My guess is this is Dawn Roy, a 13-year-old girl found dead in McCarran Park. Mike tells everyone about the recent pattern of dead or missing children at the lunch at the Chinese restaurant, and this is one of the victims that he mentions. If you need a refresher on some of the things that you missed from the first movie, click the video on the left. I'm planning a whole slate of videos about It Chapter 2 from now until the movie is released in September, so make sure you subscribe to CZsWorld for new horrors every week, ring that death bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Assuming we all float.